Well, good evening, everyone. It's been a while, and you're not used to seeing me do this on video, unless, of course, you see me on, the good old TikTok. I rarely post on Instagram, so we'll see how this goes. Anyways, it's been a while, right? Months. And I wanted to check in whether or not I keep saying that I'm going to be consistent in making podcasts. Clearly, I fail at that. I kind of had to take a step back from everything. I would still post on social media, but I didn't really know how to talk to anyone, how to even really speak about addiction since my daughter has found recovery. I'll kind of do a quick rundown. One, I'm Brandy. I go by Brandi Mac on my social medias. I am an ICU nurse practitioner. I am a mom of 4. I'm a grandmother to a 5-year-old grandson, and I have a granddaughter on the way. My oldest child has struggled with substance use disorder, and I've kind of been sharing that journey for going on 5 years now. And really, it just was kind of an outlet and finding a sense of community, but I didn't realize how many lives and families were just so impacted by substance use disorder. And it's hard. It destroys families. And I've had the opportunity to speak to thousands of people, and I hear a lot of really sad stories and a lot of really beautiful ones. But let's jump into it. Where have I been? I don't even know where my last podcast episode kind of left off. I think it was a short, brief one. And more or less, I took a step back because my daughter finding recovery is kind of uncharted territory. If you had followed for a long time, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this if you're listening as a loved one, is that many times when they, find sobriety, you're kind of waiting on that relapse to come. And it's a very unfortunate thing that's how we live. It's like waiting on that ball to drop, and that's not fair to them at all, but it was very much a big part of my existence and that chaos, and I hated that chaos. But when that chaos goes away, you're left almost with a void, as weird as that is. That's the easiest way I can describe it at this point, is a void. I no longer wait for that ball to drop because I feel like I found freedom from that fear when I stopped doing the tough love route and I just started meeting my daughter where she is. But the calm, the normal life, it was all new. And you're going to hear my annoying German Shepherd. She needs attention all the time, and so you're going to hear her sighing. So I apologize. But anyways, a lot of things start to show their face that was there before really the addiction started, right? The flaws in the family. And, she was doing therapy, doing her work, and I actually was on the hunt for a new therapist, but I was just trying to fix everything as always and not focusing on myself. This fucking dog. Anyways, but I actually have one now. She's gonna be so annoying. Scout, lay down. And anyways, but so I there's, without going into specifics, because I really am trying to respect my daughter's privacy. She has asked for that, and she is deserving of that. Her and I are at a point where it's, my relationship with her always mattered more than social media, always. And I always said when that started that I would, if she ever asked for me to, not share things, that I wouldn't. And I've always been very vague in what I share. And she has specifically asked me at times not to share certain things, but other times, she doesn't care. But just as a whole, I'm just trying to respect, her boundaries, and she deserves that, right? And so there's a lot of dynamics in the family that I had to work through. I mean, my failures and processing through that and not being there enough emotionally for my other children, which is also, unfortunately a common thing. A lot of times they tend to be people pleasers because they don't want to stress mom out, because mom's dealing with enough, and that's not fair to them. So it was working on that piece. And then when, my daughter and I, even in her sobriety, we kind of grew up together. I was a teen mom, and there's a lot of healing that still has to take place. It takes time, but it can be done. And when things are good, things are absolutely amazing between us. But when they're bad, they're bad. And she would agree with that. But we actually went kind of like a month without talking to each other. She had left my house and she went to live with my mom, and that was a good thing. The thing is that for years I had been saying, like, when she would get sober, I didn't want her living at my house because our dynamic, there just is not enough healing that has taken place for us to be under the same roof. And when we fight, it's bad, and that's not fair to like the rest of the family. But and I deserve to have a safe space. My home is my safe space. She deserves to have her own space. And the reality, there wasn't enough room here for her. And so, but she's in a safe place. She's not far. She's at my mom's, and we are now very much interacting. And as a whole family, we went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine last night, and I literally just, she sat next to me listening to her laugh, crack up through that movie. It made me warm having all my family together, all of us laughing together, watching a movie together. And when you've gone through this life of, loving someone through addiction, it's hard. And all you want is that back. But there is a level of healing that has to take place in the family, because that just doesn't just come back, right? Trust is lost. And, I can't say this enough, is when I say families need to own their shit, and no, not all family members, and I mean this towards parents, not siblings, maybe in certain situations, but I'm meaning like as a parent, like from my perspective, a lot of this comes from my perspective, is when I mainly mean like parents own their shit, and that the potential role you maybe had and how they turned out. Now, not each child is obviously different. Many don't go the route like my daughter did, but as we know, some do, and we're all built different. And so I had to own my shit, and I think owning your shit, not making excuses, not putting everything on them. When you look at like abstinence-based programs like 12 Steps, it's on them. It's them. They're the reason why. And, yes, they have to have a huge amount of accountability. But we also, as loved ones, I caused trauma to my daughter. I did. I was a young mom growing up, and I messed up a lot. Is that all my fault as far as what took her down this path? No, it's not. But me owning my piece allowed for her to heal and our relationship to heal. And that's the thing. And so, like, I found a very good trauma therapist that I am working with now, and I absolutely love her. I'm so grateful for her. And already I've only had like 3 sessions with her, and she has put into perspective some things that I was like, fuck, like really got me thinking. And she does all types of different modalities. She does EMDR, and that is something that Brooke has actually done and highly recommends for like any type of trauma. And though I've heard like complex PTSD, it may not be the best for, so definitely ask your provider about that if you look into it. But she does that, and at some point we plan on working through my trauma using that type of therapy. So I'm really looking forward to that, actually. But I have a granddaughter that's going to be here in just a few months, and are we ready for that? Do we have cribs and anything? Nope. nope, we don't. We'll do it. We'll find stuff. Thank God for Facebook Marketplace, right? And but we'll figure it out. And it's just it takes time. Healing takes time. But that's kind of, I think, why I haven't made a podcast. I didn't really know what to say. I didn't really feel like speaking about addiction, because when I started speaking, it wasn't like I was looking for, I want to be, this influencer, and because this topic I can speak on. No, I literally did it because I needed help, and it was actually extremely therapeutic for me. And I think the reason it worked so much was because I would just film myself talking exactly about how I was feeling right then. Like, you saw the raw, real emotion of it, the good and the bad. And, a lot of these emotions, now that she is in recovery, I don't quite understand yet. So I don't even know how to talk about it, right? Because at times I'll be angry, but I don't want to talk about my anger right then, because I want to respect her privacy, right? Because it's more personal dynamics than just looking at the addiction, okay? And everybody deserves their privacy when it comes to that. But, her getting sober is uncharted territory. It is. And this is like the longest that she has been sober. And it's a beautiful thing. It's so beautiful to have my daughter back. And she looks so great, so healthy. And I wish that for everyone. And for people who are listening to this that still have someone struggling, I know that pain. And I wish for your loved one to find sobriety and for you to heal more than anything. And I mean that, because I don't think there is anything harder than loving someone with substance use disorder. I really, other than, burying them, losing them completely. That would be like the number one. But loving someone, it feels like it's never ending. And some it is. Some they do it up until they lose their life. And it's very, very unfortunate. Another piece, that kind of a journey I've been on along with the therapy piece, is perimenopause. All right. So I'm 42, and I had noticed for like the last year, my moods were kind of all over the place, and like PMSing time, I would just get more irritable than normal. And I usually didn't have that issue. I wouldn't be a complete bitch. Like, that just didn't happen. And so I started noticing that for the last year and a half, my ADHD symptoms were worse while medicated. I've been on Adderall on and off for like 20 years. And so I know my body, I know how it works. And I noticed that my symptoms were getting worse. It just wasn't working as well. And like the brain fog and just my PMS symptoms, everything. And I'm like, something's off. Like, it just is. And so I started looking into, years ago, I got my hormones checked because I couldn't lose weight after I got my tubes tied after my last child. And so I'm like, something has changed here. I don't think it's just my age. And so I had those checked, and I didn't really understand any of it. I wasn't a nurse practitioner then. And now I found a functional medicine provider. It's a nurse practitioner I actually knew that did this. And I reached out to him and signed up for his services. And so he did all the workup, like checking my estrogen level, my testosterone level, CMP, CBC, my CPK, you want to look like for inflammatory markers, all those different types of things. He checked a lot of labs, and sure enough, I'm estrogen dominant, and my progesterone was low, and my testosterone was on the lower side. So I just started about a week ago, testosterone cream and progesterone, and bioidentical hormone, progesterone, and I do feel better already. The cream takes time. Some people the cream doesn't work on as far as testosterone, but I just found like I really hated my husband. I was fighting with my daughter more, and I kind of felt insane. And like you'll hear of people saying women go insane when they go through menopause. I'm not there yet, but I can see, like, I can't imagine. I didn't want to feel this way anymore. Like, it was bad. And then I started going through some really low moments of depression. But now I'm on that. Sleeping, I'm hoping to improve. And with the progesterone, I've been told that can actually make a huge difference. So I'm really looking forward to that. But overall, I have like less anxiety. And it's interesting. I talked to my trauma therapist about what I was doing, and she just loved it because she has said she has cared for so many like adult patients, and she has thought that they need to get the biological component figured out first, because it could be more biological and less mental health. It doesn't mean they don't need the therapy, but if you take care of this piece, that other piece, you know you can focus on more certain things. And already I'm feeling so much better. Now, I'll probably talk more about the hormone therapy and talk about some of the studies on that, because there's a lot of providers that they don't really listen. And women, unfortunately, they just don't take us seriously. And it's about not necessarily you having normal labs, but how you feel, because your lab may be low for you. And that's actually what I had a physician tell me why I probably wasn't losing weight, was that even though my labs were normal, it was probably that when I got my tubes tied, that it affected my hormones to where they were lower than I was used to. Because I ended up going and getting gastric sleeve done. I waited 5 years before I did that. But I mean, my back was killing me. I had always worked out. I always had to work to, be fit. And it was working out and eating right. And I had done that, and I could not get the weight off. So that's where we are now. And as far as mental health, I'm feeling much better. I'm feeling optimistic. I still have a lot of fears like everyone else. But I'm just kind of living in the now. Thinking about the future, it used to give me a lot of anxiety, kind of like waiting on the ball to drop for the relapse. But I'm not doing that now. And so I'm really, really happy to be in the place that I am right now, because I love my career still. I do love my husband, and so life is pretty good. That's kind of where we are. But my daughter is still sober, and I apologize for not making a podcast episode. I know a lot of people kind of have followed me on social media, so usually you would get kind of updates through there. But I was even quiet with that for a while. But yeah, I did a podcast with Dr. Taylor Nickel and Macaulay Sexton. Their podcast is called Recovery Reform, and I highly encourage you to go check out their podcast. Dr. Nichols, he's actually certified in addiction medicine, and he was an ER physician, and he's talked about, he has no lived experience, whereas Macaulay does. Macaulay is what you like to use term. They like to use term in remission, which I think is unique. It would take time for me to get used to saying that, but when you're sober, calling it like you're in remission, and but it's interesting. It's interesting listening, to that perspective, and I enjoyed them having me on. I just did that Monday actually, and so I encourage you to check it out. But yeah, if you guys, you want to see more of this, you want me to talk about certain things, we don't have to just talk about addiction, please comment, message me. I'm really just focusing on family and my career, my job. Being an influencer isn't part of that. I do this because I enjoy doing it. But yeah, I hope you guys are well. I wish you the best. And until next time, whenever that will be, take care.